our Gaming Dialogue daily podcast. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members and participants and viewers on various platforms. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being valued members of our community here on Twitch. This is our daily podcast for Sunday 9th of May 2021. I couldn't really remember the date. I always have to be looking at my Twitch chat in order to get the facts right, because when you're a streamer, what happens is time flies by. You just kind of lose track of what day it is and where you are really within a particular year. So there we are, already another Sunday. So I hope you enjoyed our marathons yesterday and on Friday. We've had two very lengthy streams of Warzone after a 3-week break. All of you who are familiar with my routine and this channel, you'll know that we deliver our content here in a seasonal format. In fact, I created that in view of all the changes applied to online PvP gaming. The games like Destiny and Apex, which always will have a seasonal content. That also include Warzone. And I think it's always a very good idea to have, if you're a streamer, it's a very good idea to be running it like this. So it's a bit like running your school term, and then you have a break. And I'll tell you why this is very important. Streaming is a very, very tiring activity if you're doing it on a pro level, because you have to do a lot of research. You need to be always in tune with your community members. You need to answer all the messages. You need to be kept abreast with the news. And obviously, if you do it properly, it does really take up all of your time, and you need to be absolutely 100% dedicated to everything that's happening out there. So I think it's a bit different if you're just streaming one game and you're not really interested in what is happening with Microsoft, Sony, or any other entity like Epic in the industry. But still, I find it to be very tiring, and I generally always want to have, like with gaming, when I do matches, we have a match and then we have a chat. We have a match, we have a chat. So you'll see if you join any of our activities, particularly I think with Warzone, because we have that lobby, when we're all waiting there before any of the matches kick off. We'll chat for quite a while, because chatting, first of all, is extremely important, as this is a channel dedicated to our community, which means we want to be connecting and communicating at all times. We always keep bringing in new members, and as you've seen, this channel resembled a railway station a little while back when we were doing Destiny 1 streams. There was so many people coming in and going all the time. Not everyone stayed with us, not everybody wanted to be a follower or subscriber, but people will pop in, have a look, say a few things, connect with us, and then we have a nucleus, a very large number of dedicated members who are attached to a particular game. So really, if you're looking at this channel, if you were to be comprising all the members on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and Twitch inclusive, you will see that really our community is made of three separate types of gamers. I mean, people who are attached to three separate games, I should say. The first one is Destiny, and that's Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. In fact, it's surprising, because Destiny is part of one big entity, like one big universe, but you still have today two lots of people, one group that is attached to the original game, and they do not want to be entering the world of Destiny 2 for whatever reason. And there's quite a sizable number, I have to admit, and I think Bungie did take a note of this and provided a bit more maintenance in certainly, let's say, recent months, during last year, and you will have people who are not wanting to enter the world of everlasting, never-ending type of activity in Destiny universe as it is presented today, because that Bungie really indicated that this wonderful universe will be just constantly evolving. There won't be an end to it. There'll be new story missions coming in, lots of new activities attached to seasons, etc., etc. So I think one group of people is attached to Destiny 1, then the other is hammering Destiny 2 and trying to explore every corner of the universe. And we've had people like Flying Pirates who are just doing Destiny. He doesn't play any other games at all, which means he knows absolutely everything about every single corner of every single cave. And I had the privilege of being able to play with Flying Pirates for quite some time, and I think Sekapupa remarked on the fact that at one stage just literally walked through Destiny 2 content, when in fact he himself, doing it by alone, would have had maybe a much lengthier period in order to unlock certain puzzles and get to certain areas. And right, so we have two lots of gamers attached to Destiny 1 and 2. We have one community attached to Apex, and then another, the big one, also attached to Warzone. I think our Warzone community in recent months, certainly during the last, I say, year, has been very, very energetic and vibrant. And I remarked several times on the fact that I personally felt ever since Apex and Warzone migrated, or I should say adapted to the cross-platform access, the overall community had been greatly enhanced. First of all, we have people coming from everywhere. Secondly, they're coming from all platforms. There's much greater diversity. I found it to be also providing me with a lot less worry, because the content previously attached to one platform sometimes did amount to certain type of frustration. As you know, people will get very, very furious for not being able to get certain scores, and there was an element of toxic content, which is what we fight against here in all online gaming forums. I've not had any of that since we've gone down the route of cross-platform. I was able to bring in quite a large number of new members to my community here on the channel, and also we created a separate regiment, which is, I guess, having a bit of a competitive streak as well. So lots of people joined it, so it's already more than, I think, about 40 people within the regiment at the moment. And although they're not strictly speaking connected, you know, a regiment, well, the regiment I should say, is a separate entity from what we do here on Twitch. The community on Twitch is based on all of our online, live online content and interaction. But you know, for some people who are perhaps wanting to always find somebody to play with, especially if they're in a different time zone, you know, people in New Zealand, Australia, US, being in a clan or regiment is very, very good if that entity is very large. Larger it is, better it will be, because you always find somebody to play with, and they will pop up on your screen immediately, or indeed on your Android app. And I really have to stress the fact that lots of our gamers are not using the Android app. I really urge you to do that. They're really fantastic companions to online activity, and that applies to Destiny as well as Warzone. And most importantly, with the Call of Duty Warzone app, you are also getting lots of goodies, extra XPs, sometimes rewards. They're all being then claimed directly through the app, and you get them in your game. So make sure you download the app, make sure that you're using it, and that you are definitely basically reaping all the very best benefits that you can. So basically, the community had grown, and we had a number of people joining us because they wanted to have their buddy and sort of sparring partners coming in at any moment in time. And I have to say that we've become a very closely, tightly bonded group, which is, I guess, for the first time that I would have had this sort of experience ever. Played games for more than 30 years online, and had some really great communities attached to Halo or Diablo many years back. But I think the difference here is, first of all, that we have this interactive forum, which is called Twitch. That's very, very important, because people really like, you know, when you see a celebrity making a Twitter posting, and then you get like millions of different types of comments coming in. The reason for that is that everyone who's writing a comment knows that that particular person, one way or the other, will be reading the comments. For Taylor Swift, for Lady Gaga, they will have a team managing their Twitter, but still some of the artists will retain the liberty, the freedom and the individual right to be reading messages and responding in person. So, you know, it is particularly exciting, I think, for lots of people who are, I guess, not in the entertainment business, to know that if you're writing a compliment, that this particular artist will respond to you. So it's like a personalized connection. You're really connecting with them straight away through the app and getting those responses. And you will sometimes hear when you are going to pubs, restaurants, when people talk, they said, well, this person responded to me directly. And I think, to be honest with you, people in the politics and people who are maybe not on the top echelons of government, but people involved in local affairs, they will be responding, and this is going to be your red phone to a particular person who then is going to be providing you with certain kind of feedback, or indeed responding to your inquiry or providing you with some advice. So that is the element of excitement that many people have if they're connecting through Twitch. It doesn't matter whether you're a massive big streamer like Ninja or Shroud, whether you're just starting out. This hub is giving you the opportunity to make new friends and also to provide high quality content that others are watching. So don't forget, when you see the label that says content creator, that label is not just attached to the person who's running the channel. He is the captain of the ship. He is responsible for everything that happens in that. He needs to be absolutely fully in control of everything that's happening, making sure that everything is perfectly squared away. There's not any problems, troubles, or anything said which is defamatory. Everything needs to be within the Twitch terms and conditions and rules. But all the other people participating live online, and that includes randomly selected gamers, the people who come in and join us on Twitch chat, and obviously people who are we bring in through audio comms, they all become our content creators. They're all part and parcel of the content. So it's very, very fascinating. I mean, I've been a content creator in various shapes and forms for very many years, ever since I was a child. And I'm fascinated. Honestly, I have to say, I'm fascinated by the opportunities that this system of communication is giving us, because really never ever before in human history did we have it. And I think it will bring a huge amount of advancement. We are just literally just scratching the surface. We're right at the beginning. Twitch has been around for about 7 years, and it kicked off in a big fashion in 2015. I've been a member of Twitch community from the very beginning, but I started with full streams about 3 or 4 years ago, and we had a fantastic experience of development, and we rose from what was initially just a platform dedicated to gaming to the major communication tool and also a social network, because if you think about it, my channel had become a social network for people who are playing Warzone and Destiny and Apex. So they come in every single day and they will look for the moment where this stream will kick off, and they will all kind of pop in, send me invitations, communicate through the Twitch chat, and basically sometimes they will not even talk to me, but they will see other members who are also live online, connect with them and play their own game, or indeed chat elsewhere. I think some of the members are a bit cagey, to kind of feel fully free in terms of how to communicate, because they will appreciate some of the competitives will trigger off emotions in people, and you get people who get very excited and start swearing, saying things which are not nice, and the vast majority of participants will adhere to the rules, so they will not do that live online. Therefore they'll just connect through this hub in order to play their game elsewhere with the same group. So that's fantastic. I'm so pleased, so proud, and so privileged to have been a member of that process. And I've recently one thing which is very important. This was my lengthy break, and during the lengthy break I had actually no contact with any of my communities, because I was working on something completely separate, unrelated to this forum. It's a link to my professional services, and I really missed my community. I mean, for the first time in about 3 or 4 years, I really felt the absence of my chums being here every single day. I really missed that degree of comms and bonding, and that was a wonderful experience. It was almost like, when you're away from your family, or when you are away from the loved ones, if you go on a business trip and your family's left at home, it's that sort of experience. That is astonishing. I have not met a single person who's in my community in life. I don't know anybody face to face, but we created this degree of unity, which is really and truly remarkable. So anyone who's been asking me questions and sending messages and wondering how to run Twitch channels, whether it's worth it, etc., well, I can tell you one thing: it is absolutely worth it. You've got to be able to try it and do it and experience it, because this is the future. This is where humanity is progressing towards. We have seen recently with the big Academy Awards in the US, the Oscar ceremony, and also with the mainstream television shows and various other entertainment industry-based events. That was not due to the pandemic. They have been in a steady decline for the last 6 or 7 years, but recently, and specifically in the pandemic, the number of viewers of those same entities had really rapidly declined because everyone, the vast majority of people aged 40, well, up to age 40, had migrated to online forums, and not everyone played video games, but some people were engaging through other forums which are based on video comms, like Zoom, for instance. People connected through Snapchat, through Instagram, but Twitch and YouTube, with the streaming services, became a social network, or each channel became a social network through which people really made initial contact. So they'll all come in to watch somebody early in the day, and then they will migrate to Zoom, to WhatsApp, to Skype, or any other app out there which they're using in order to connect with others. So you could see it's a completely new, completely different, and certainly a very and truly remarkable way through which people connect. It doesn't matter at all whether you are in another part of the world. We've had people joining us here from Morocco, from Pakistan, from South America, from Argentina, Bolivia. We had people coming in from South Africa, from New Zealand, from Russia, from Czech Republic, Poland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, France, Croatia, North Macedonia, Germany. The list just goes on and on and on and on. And I also have to say, some games have easy access to international servers. They're not really regional. You will see that with Warzone. We talked about it yesterday on our stream. We are not getting people from North America or from down under because we are connected to these European servers. So the vast majority of people come from Europe. That's not the case with Destiny. In fact, Destiny does bring in lots of people from Australia, New Zealand, and America. So it depends what game you are really streaming. But like myself, you have 3 of them: Destiny, Apex, and Warzone. You really are getting everybody from everywhere. Obviously game specific, but once people become members of your community, pop in and have a look and have a chat with others. Indeed, if other topics are being tackled, you'll get people who are very proprietary. They want to be doing just one particular game, and will find the activities to be of great benefit to them if they're just doing Destiny or Apex. But the vast majority are becoming a bit like the industry, cross-platform, coming in, trying out different things, and connecting with other gamers. And what I find particularly interesting is you hear about the game through your community, where a particular title is recommended, and you want to try it because people tell you exactly what the game's like. We yesterday talked about probably more than a dozen games. All of those games I've been familiar with, but other participants were not, and they were going to be downloading some of them and finding out more, enjoying maybe some of the activity, and then providing us with further feedback. Spurs was telling us quite a bit about Valhalla. Valhalla takes place in his local neighborhood, which is in around Norwich and Yarmouth, and it's a game dedicated to the history of England when we were defending against the invaders, or trying to defend the old English kingdom against the Vikings. And it's a lot to learn from the game, really, about the history. And we heard all about it through our online chat. We had Hunter recommending a couple of other military simulation games, and there was one survival/horror game. And it just becomes an ongoing activity where we recommend the best titles, games that we really enjoy. A bit like myself recommending The Outer Worlds to everyone. The Outer Worlds didn't hit it big for some reason, I don't know why, but it is a fantastic game, and most highly recommended to everyone. So I introduced that title to my chums, and they were very, very interested. I think some of our friends there like Mass Effect and Halo, and therefore the Outer Worlds will provide them with the same degree of entertainment. Very similar to Mass Effect in terms of the actual in-game mechanics. It's not a multiplayer. We'll get two friends who are following you around, members of your party. You can be talking to them and orchestrating the activities. A very, very similar in-game mechanics concept, identical to Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and I quite like it. I think compared to the other two, this is obviously a new game, so it's more advanced. There are a lot more things for you to do, and there's a lot more dialogue which you will have between yourself and your party, which at times is going to be affecting the outcome, the story, and I guess the unlockings of some side missions, which are very, very important. The Outer Worlds has an enormous amount of activity and very, very many side missions. I've not even I'm not sure how many. I've not looked it up on the net, but I'd say probably within the range of a few hundred. And I think there's something like between 80 and 100 main quests. So it's a game you play over a long period of time. You do chapter by chapter, bit by bit, quest by quest, and you'll definitely get to the bottom of it. They released 2 separate DLCs in recent months. Both have been really very, very well received by the members of that community. So, one way or the other, absolutely jump in, step in, have a look, and enjoy. The other big game I recommend to everyone is Yakuza, and I have to say, I caught a bug from Jeff Rubinstein from Xbox, because he talked about Yakuza every single time on the podcast, every single week. And I had Yakuza on PlayStation Now for quite some time, and never got enough time to get to it. And before they released the remastered trilogy, I've gone to the PlayStation streaming services and I tried Yakuza 4, and it was amazing. It just didn't seem to work too well on PlayStation 4, because it's a PS3 game, and they've not done on their streaming services, the PlayStation that is, the required works. So none of the games have been adapted to the next-gen console, and that doesn't work. That's a serious problem in there, because when you use controls, sometimes they work in reverse, they're really too sensitive, there are lots and lots of issues with them, and sometimes picture quality also is not really terrific if you're doing it directly through the live streaming. If you download the game, provided that the game is indeed downloadable, because I think 70% of the games on PlayStation streaming services are not, you will have obviously high picture quality, but the problems with the controls will still remain there, which is not the case on Game Pass. So obviously once they released the remastered Yakuza remastered trilogy special edition, I've gone down the route of downloading it, and I have to say it's just a state of the art. It's incredible. I can't believe that they've done it so well. I mean, you can see really how the Japanese are really excelling with all the new tech, and these are older games, 3, 4 and 5 were released quite a few years back, about 10 years back, and they look absolutely brand new, fully polished, wonderful colors, razor sharp graphics, movement and controls are absolutely tip top, so you can really enjoy it. But the thing is, Yakuza, the overall series, is not just Yakuza 3, it's the whole series. It's about 8 or 9 different installments so far. Does have about 1,000 chapters, so it's a 1K chapters. Think about it, I'll play it probably for 10 years. Doesn't really matter if it works on my setup. I can do it chapter by chapter, bit by bit, night by night, and some chapters are very lengthy with lots of tasks. Others are kind of fairly easily resolved, and you have, in addition to 1,000 chapters, well, I should say, within those chapters you have lots and lots of side quests. So it isn't just one main quest. One chapter will have lots of different activities, so don't think it's just racing through it being one chapter, one quest. Well, it's not like that. It's one chapter and maybe 20, 30 quests attached to it, plus lots of fighting, lots of different activities which need to be fully completed, and it's a fairly steady progression, I have to say. I didn't find it to be slow at all, and what I found particularly interesting with Yakuza is that we have a wonderful emotional bond with some of the characters, and you feel fully connected, with that world, which is not the case in some of the games, I've got to say. I find really the Outer Worlds to be similar to that, and a wonderful dialogue, and it's a phenomenally well written game. It's similar to what we've seen with other Obsidians. Fallout New Vegas, for instance, is probably the best example. They just have fantastic screenwriters, and they work on the dialogue, and this is a company similar to Bethesda developers, where they really feel that sort of game, an RPG game, is all about the story-based, story-driven content, similar to BioWare, and it's really very, very important. So spend your money and time, human resources on the story, and then obviously it pays off. So we talked a lot about all of these games we played during my break yesterday. The marathon was very lengthy, I have to say. Yesterday we streamed almost for 10 hours, so today it was going to be a lot shorter than that. And I was very, very tired, I've got to tell you. Didn't say anything about the weather in here today. Today's a bit of a murky, misty, weirdly, it is a drizzly type of day in the suburbs. Yesterday we had dreadful rain. It was raining the whole day, and that made it easier for me to stream. I got up very early, and I was up like 7 o'clock yesterday. Surprising. So I thought maybe the change of atmosphere or something which was going to the weather it affected me. And I mean, certainly in recent months and during the lockdown, I've had I wouldn't say serious difficult. It's quite difficult to get up as early as I usually do. But yesterday I got so early and cracked on with everything, at 8 o'clock, and did my news, promoted my podcast, then we went on with our stream, and I thought, well, we'll wrap it up around 4 o'clock, and it will be a lengthier stream, about 5-6 hours. It turned out to be a marathon of 10, but there's one reason for that, and I really want to talk about it here today. The reason for that is I managed to bring in quite a lot of people from my community, people not been live on air for a little while, and some old friends joined us, and we had a wonderful, wonderful day. It was probably one of the best gaming days I've had in my life, honestly. It was all about teamwork, it was all about meeting old friends, it was all about remembering some of the great moments we've had together, a bit of reminiscence really, on the other hand, chit-chatting about the current activities, and there were several groups of people who joined us. There were several squads during that 10-hour stream, and if you watch it, you'll see that we had a lot of fun. We also entertained others. We had quite a lot of interactivity online. Some of our friends who were not in the squad were also communicating, and that was probably the very best thing that Twitch can offer. Everything that I cherish and treasure about the activities here was present yesterday. So it seemed like they just went by, and it's the best possible because you're not feeling under the weather, under any form of pressure. You enjoy what you do, you love what you do, and you talk to your very best friends who actually join you with your in-game activity, as well as with your content creation. So that's can't be better than that, and everyone needs to retry it. A very, very good, brilliant, wonderful gaming day with lots of great matches, and incidentally, both on Friday and yesterday we had one victory, and we did came third and second a few times as well. So it was a very, very successful day, and don't forget, particularly so in view of the fact that on weekends you have esports teams and many competitives coming in. So Friday nights or let's say Fridays generally after 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. and then Saturdays and Sundays are really difficult days if you play PvP games, because all the top players will come in. They also do the streams, the competitions, and much harder to survive. But we excelled. We did very, very well, and I've got to say, the winning match was the most successful match in every way that we've had here live online, or maybe that I've ever had with anyone. It was just absolutely tip-top with tactics and strategies, and also with a number of eliminations, 27 spread out amongst the team members. It was incredible. It was just absolutely a dream that we really want to be having very, very frequently here, both on the channel and in Warzone. So anyway, if you have a moment, have a look at the victory. We had one victory on Friday. That's right at the end of the stream, the Friday stream, that is. It was a very, very good victory as well. It was a tip-top works, similar to what we had yesterday. The only difference was on Friday, Joel joined us, and he's a new community member. I've played with him during the whole day, and we also had a duo joining us who are in another regiment. Well, they're attached to another regiment. We all blended in perfectly on the spot. The other guy joined us through random matchmaking, and everything worked. It's just like as if we played for 100 years. Honestly, it was incredible. It was a fantastic match, a brilliant, beautiful team effort. Everything we did there with section attacks was as it should be, and the same sort of thing happened yesterday. So the winning match is at the end of that stream, Friday stream. The one yesterday is about 5.5 hours into the activity. You'll be able to find it, and I will spend some time in a couple of I will spend a bit of time on editing, and I'll try to get some of the best content, our victories, and funny parts of our streams to the highlights. So we have separate clips and things on YouTube and also on Twitch. So bear with me for a little while until I do that. I don't really have the the best possible tech for doing this. I'm not using my PC at the moment, and it'd be much easier for me to clip and download, upload, and everything else. But I'm resorting to everything which is mobile, and that's my tablet, my phone, and also my console setup. And it does take a bit more time really to filter out some of the content. And I think, considering I have several thousand videos on my YouTube channel, I will need to do a bit of playlisting and some selections, because I've had some inquiries in fact from you guys, People saying, oh, we played with you on 29th of October 2017, 2018, and it was a fantastic match, we loved it, can we really get the clip? Absolutely, just head to YouTube and find the stream. And the only difficulty is that initially I didn't really label with my dates every single stream, and they were not uploaded to YouTube on that same day, and you know, harder to find. But one of our colleagues, the US colleagues, said to me, just every single stream you do, put the date in the title, and that doesn't matter what you've done where. Once it's in the title, it's stay there. It doesn't matter whether you upload it on the same day or 3 months later, but you will get it there with the date. People know exactly when the when the stream was indeed launched. And it's similar to the old photographs, you know, the photographs on paper, where once you've taken it, people always write the dates and locations and events, you know, on the back. And so you would look at the photograph, turn it over, and then have a look at the date and everything written. You know exactly where it was, and that was very, very popular type of thing for, I'd say, for more than 100 years. But today we have the benefits of digital photography, and you know, every photograph will have information imprinted, so there's no more need to be jotting some of the notes on the back. Right, so where were we? Warzone marathon yesterday. Hope you all enjoyed it, and hope indeed that we are going to be carrying on with such enjoyable activity. Having breaks, this is what I talked about, and I find that to be very essential. And remember, if you're an avid gamer, to take breaks every 90 minutes, and you need to stretch, you need to drink, you need to don't drink alcohol, just drink water. You need to be properly hydrated, and especially so if you're doing PvP. People don't realize PvP is affecting your central nervous system. You are getting highly accelerated, and as you're getting accelerated, your heart rate will go up a bit, and you will be dehydrating. You know, you'll be warming up on the inside. So in order to be cooling down appropriately, you always have to have a pint or maybe 2 liters of water near you, which you're drinking bit by bit. Always drink water after every single PvP match. Make sure you do that. Make it a rule, make it a principle. So that will keep you properly hydrated. Your brain will work better. Do not drink 2 liters of water after every match. So let's make this clear. Just drink a glass of water. But keeping yourself properly hydrated will, first of all, enhance your performance. Secondly, you will not feel terribly tired. And thirdly, you will know where you reach the threshold. You had enough, right? So make sure you take breaks every 60 or 90 minutes. Make sure you are not seated at all times. I'll give you an example. I never sit down when I play games. PvP is always a must to be standing. And I can do that because I have a very large display, 60-inch screen, and usually about 3 meters away from it, and it just works perfectly for me. I hate sitting down when doing you know, any games that will have a lot of activity, because I would be then a bit, my body becomes a bit tense, and therefore I would get twitchy. I thought it was photosensitivity, but it's, you know, I think it's just a combination of the two. I need to be moving around a bit once doing PvP, because that really gives me you know, the overall sense of the overall experience of wellness. And for instance, after the marathon yesterday, I felt no tiredness at all. I felt fantastic. I went to have a dinner, I walked to the park, and a lengthy stroll, which is 5 miles each way, and just absolutely perfectly tipped, the best possible Saturday that I can have, and I just feel highly energized. But I think if I sat down, I'd probably get some pains, you know, like in my shoulders and my lower back and everything else. Some of our squad mates complained about this because they always play their games seated. They don't have such massive big displays, so therefore need to be closer to the screens, and you know, so it's one of those things. Keep this in mind. Anyway, go to the drill. First of all, take breaks every 60 or 90 minutes. Absolutely fundamental. Secondly, keep that water next to you. Keep properly hydrated. Do not drink fizzy drinks. Do not drink energy drinks. Absolutely not. That's, first of all, highly damaging to your liver. People don't realize they have huge concentration of sugar, artificial sweetness, and they affect your liver. So do not drink these drinks. And you will see sometimes streamers selling energy drinks, and they're partnered with a particular company. Do not follow that advice. It's very, very unhealthy. Could be very damaging to your health in a longer term. Don't drink too many coffees either, right? Drink 1 coffee in the morning, that's about it. So if you're a gamer, you need to accept the fact that the activity, you know, the overall audio-visual stimuli, the way it stimulates your nervous system, the way you are, will have a significant impact on the way your biology is that day. So make sure, if you're an avid gamer, you live and game healthily. That's very important. Don't eat crisps and greasy snacks. Get fruit, get peanuts, preferably without salt, the proper natural peanuts or any other nuts, and snack healthily. If you're in Britain, you can go to Tesco's and get peanuts or mixed nuts with raisins. It's a very, very big pack. I've seen about £1. It will last you for quite a while, but you can snack on these. They're healthy, You have natural sugar levels in raisins, and peanuts are, they have some amount of grease, but overall, if there's no sugar and if there's no salt, it's the best possible. They provide you with extra minerals. You find yourself feeling really tip-top. And I've seen some streamers promoting that sort of healthy, ethical gaming, and that's really truly remarkable. But I've got to say, other guys get coerced into partnering with companies, like with PUBG or any other, and they will have to be then abiding by certain rules, and you can't tell what they will offer as part of the package, what products he will be recommending. Sometimes recommending hoodies and t-shirts, sometimes energy drinks, Anyway, it's down to your own personal preference. Breaks every 60 to 90 minutes. Proper hydration with water, which you drink every single time you finish a PvP match. Thirdly, make sure that if you're running sessions or seasons or lengthy parties, you need to have a break afterwards. And I generally recommend to everyone not to be running your games throughout night or late in the evening. I guess this depends on age. If you're a youthful streamer, it doesn't really matter too much, but try to keep your routine as healthy and as reasonable as possible. I find generally that PvP does have a profound effect on my brain, and I can get really very highly stimulated, and if I'm to be doing games after 9 o'clock PM, I may have a difficulty with falling asleep. It'll take me a long while to fall asleep because the overall biology is still highly accelerated. People don't realize this. They think if you go out for a run, you will be very awake. I find that to be working in reverse for me. I don't do this anymore, but for quite a few years I had a regular military drill, which would include a run, which is a lengthy, slow but long distance run of 12 mile, and I was doing these every 3 days. I mean, on average, I'd maybe run for half hour, the usual kind of route around the place of my residence. But the drills were on time, which means like any kind of major activity, you will have to have your timing, and you got to be reaching Monavi by a certain number of minutes or hours. And I used to do that for a long while, and certainly in my 30s, early 40s, what I did was I would do this before going to bed. So I'll go out for that run at around 11 o'clock, and the run would last me probably about 90 minutes roughly. So I get back home, have a shower, go to bed. I mean, sometimes 10:30, just to make sure that I'm not in bed after 1 o'clock. So it'd be probably around midnight that I would I would wrap it all up. But many of my friends would say if we went for a run that late, we would find ourselves being highly energized and like really not being able to sleep. With me, it was the other way around. I would come back and would find it to be completely soothing. All the energies, all the acceleration, tension, anything else that I would have had during that day would be completely gone. And after that shower, I'd be sleeping like a baby. And at that time, well, 8 hours is my usual quota. 8 hours is what I need, and it really would do the wonders. So I'm not doing these runs anymore, sadly, because I developed a condition on my heels, and that condition was very debilitating, I have to say. Earlier in the last decade, I had to receive a lot of treatments, and it had become somewhat better, but what it meant for me was that my regular daily runs were certainly erased from my everyday existence. I couldn't redo them anymore. It looked like the tendons on my feet got inflamed due to growth which appeared on the bone, and in my heel. And as the inflammation became more apparent, then the tendons would get inflamed, and then I couldn't walk. I was having like unbelievably sharp pains in both feet. In fact, a couple of times I was on buses, and I had to be aided in order to get off at my bus stop because I couldn't get up, couldn't walk. And it was definitely very, very worrying. So after lengthy physiotherapy, many sessions swimming and doing all other kinds of things, it had become better, but it's still there, easily aggravated, and sometimes it flares up. And my orthopedic consultant did advise me against these runs, and particularly these lengthy jogging exercises, because he said as you progress in age, you will be using your feet more and more, and this rubbing will be taking place, and therefore the pains will be occurring. It's interesting, I never had a problem up to that point, and I couldn't really work out what caused it. And he said, well, this growth on your heels you've had since you were a teenager, but they never bothered you before. But it comes, with age, basically. He said that's one of the things. So anyway, I really had to cut out all the running, but I don't get disturbed by, if I have to be in a standing position. Like yesterday, you had that stream, it was a 10-hour stream. I was literally standing throughout. I sat down a couple of times, every couple of hours just for 10 minutes, but otherwise it was like a full session of standing. I didn't have any problems whatsoever. And I know other people say, oh, my back, my neck, my heels, whatever. So you really need to be choosing, if you're a gamer and streamer, the way which is the best for you. So what's the best for me, which I just described, might be the worst for you. So don't do that because I told you so. Just make sure that you find what works the best for you. Always having breaks, having proper hydration, having a bit of activity, stretching a bit, and don't forget, if you're doing PvP, Apex, PUBG, Warzone, and Destiny, the Crucible, make sure that once you finish a match, maybe 2 matches, you have a break and you talk to your viewers, or if you don't have a channel, then talk to your friends. Do not really hammer the game again and again and again and again, because that will be affecting you, and perhaps sometimes quite negatively. Doing it for a couple of days on a trot, that's not a big deal, but after many months you will feel some side effects. And I've heard streamers and gamers telling me about feeling dizzy and having all kinds of different types of experiences that didn't really work too well for them, and they said it would take them a long while to get rid of them. A couple of weeks of rest and not doing anything, that's just taking it to an extreme. It's not really a good way of doing it, and I would recommend absolutely everything against it. Okay, so wonderful Warzone streams on Friday and Saturday. We'll have another one very shortly as we finish this podcast, and we'll have Destiny back here next week, coupled with a bit of Apex and Outriders. We need to carry on with Outriders because I've not completed the campaign. I was promoting it as the demo went out, and we played it also during its initial week, but there were lots of technical issues, so I said we'll give it a miss, wait for everything to settle. And we did our bit, make sure that the game was here on the 1st of April, and we'll play it now, because I think the technical glitches, issues and problems have been completely resolved. Everything is tipped up, and I have it on Game Pass, which means it'll be plain sailing. We can enjoy the campaign and learn a lot more about that wonderful, mysterious and rather deadly world of Enoch. Enoch is this distant colony of people who survived this terrible accident on Earth. So that's the plan for next few weeks. I need to work out whether I'll still marry 2 streams per day, or I'll have like a game per day. I think we'll play it by ear. Maybe sometimes I have a game per day, other times we'll put them together depending on what day of the week we are really looking at. I think certainly Saturdays and Sundays probably best to have 1 per day, and Monday to Friday we can have like Destiny, and then maybe a bit of Warzone or Apex in the end, that sort of combination of the two. We'll see. The only difference there is that for myself, if I'm doing Warzone for 90 minutes or for for a short period of time, it doesn't really do justice for me. It just feels like it's not quite right. And I experimented with this a bit in my last season. Didn't really like it, I have to say, so we'll need to see. But PUBG works for me. PUBG works for me with single sessions which are shorter. I don't know what it is. It's probably, I think, like what Hunter said yesterday, PUBG can feel very relaxing, because if you are having a good strategy where you're being kept quiet and invisible for quite some time before you come to the last 10, you're sort of you don't require the same degree of heightened attention, and the maps are fairly bigger than the ones in Warzone. So I mean, still explore and discover, because for Warzone and Apex I found short sessions to be slightly dissatisfying. You know, it just didn't seem that I completed the task. It was that sort of experience. Don't know why. That doesn't apply to Destiny, Elder Scrolls, or any other games we had here, or The Division, in fact. Right, so let's see what else we've got here. Still a few minutes left. A lot of the news that have come in during this week have been dedicated to, well, two major entities. Resident Evil Village, which has been launched on Friday, and there's a lot of activity, many comments and views on Twitter, so I'll tell you a bit more about this very shortly. And the other is indeed dedicated to Mass Effect Legendary Edition, of course. And the news are coming in response to questions that arose from the community, and we are going to be having it in about 2 weeks, I think. It's released. The big question I have, and I've not seen and heard anything about it so far anywhere, is whether they will also release it on that day on Xbox Game Pass. They really kept quiet about it, but don't forget, EA Access have been fully integrated with the Microsoft's streaming platform, and we have very many games from EA on the platform as it stands today. And I'm curious to see whether Mass Effect Legendary Edition will come there on the release date, or maybe a few weeks later, because the original trilogy is there. Do you see what I mean? So they probably coerced everyone into pre-ordering, purchasing, and I can assure you, all the veterans, all the people who were doing the original 3 games already pre-ordered, so all the money's gone, right? And for us who are streamers, it would be of a tremendous advantage if we could get it on one of the streaming platforms, because then we can download and indeed stream straight away without having the need to purchase. The Legendary Edition is quite expensive. That's £60 or £70 depending on what edition you want to buy, and I think it's fairly steep. And as you know, I'm quite conservative when it comes to that. I always wait for the games to come to streaming platforms, or indeed for the prices to drop. On that note, I can tell you that Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition, which is a fantastic game if you are a stealthy player, right? Sniper Elite 3, the Ultimate Edition, is available today on Microsoft Store for mere $2.99. Like for $2.99. Think about it. It's the Ultimate Edition. Previously, you would pay like £50-60 for it. Absolutely, head to that Microsoft Store, hit that button, buy immediately, because this is a special one-off offer. It's 90% off, and I don't really think that we are going to be getting it on that price back again. And anytime you see something as good as that, just make sure you buy immediately. So let me just have a look. We have here some news related to Resident Evil Village. And we've heard from PC Gamer that there is already a mod to turn Lady D into Thomas the Tank Engine, so that's very interesting. They said that modders got up early this week for the game, and the game's hardly out, and already we've seen that them has been modded to add Barney the dinosaur, and Lady Dimitrescu. You would have seen her on many of the trailers and clips released so far. And they said that she is no longer the internet's favorite tall vampire lady, thanks to modder Crazy Potato, who's given her the terrifying face of Thomas the Tank Engine. Just the face, not the rest of the character. So he said that the Count Theodora mod requires you first to install the fully mod manager for Resident Evil 8, and then you need to be also installing a mod to replace the daughters with Lady Dimitrescu so that you can fight her in the demo. Well, I have to say I'm in two minds about some of the mods, but recently I played Skyrim Special Edition, and I brought in all the characters that were modded, and I had a traveling party together with me, very different to the original experience of the game, and I loved it. And also the character of what is his name? I can't remember. Alex, I think her name is also very mischievous. So she's saying funny things to the lead character, and it's just highly entertaining. Very similar to Pavadi in the Outer Worlds, and I wondered whether the guys from Obsidian were indeed influenced by the guys who were doing the modding of Skyrim, because it's an uncanny resemblance. Obviously the character doesn't look the same, but the dialogue is very, very similar. If you play these games without me actually giving you any spoilers, you'll find out what this is. So we heard that Holodecks creators sought clarification from Valve and were told that reviewers knew pornography when they saw it and would not further define the nature of the decision-making process. So basically what they've done is they wanted to be integrating some of the eroticized scenery into virtual reality experience, and I think they've come across a serious obstacle. So they said the future of adult entertainment is photorealistic adult stars in virtual reality. That is what Holodecks said, and they're taking scanned 3D models based on adult film stars and they bring them to life. They use the latest chatbot technology. So as they explained in the recent blog post, sorry, I can't talk anymore. After being rejected 3 times over the last year, they've really given up on trying to sell the vision of the future of adult entertainment on Steam. Well, it's not surprising, is it? I mean, we need to have certain rules, because if the entire market is unregulated, we can have, massacres in 3D or in virtual reality. We have Resident Evil style activity in real life environment, and I really have some serious concerns about this. Obviously the vast majority of people will not get affected by it, but think about it. If you are looking at the games like GTA 5, where somebody comes into a public area which resembles Los Angeles, and they start doing terrible things, it is going to be experienced very much like in real life, and you wonder what kind of impact this will have on a particular person. When it comes to erotic content and sort of sexualization of certain storylines, it is also evidently risky, because you're not sure how people who are perhaps feeling a bit sensitive, vulnerable, or indeed those with exacerbated drives would react to that sort of content. If they were, for instance, using VR in order to get certain kind of satisfaction, became addicted to it, and then you wonder what the next step would be. It reminds me of the nightmarish vision of the future as given to us by Catherine Bigelow in her film Strange Days, and it was about 2000, was it 99, 98? I can't. Try to think when the film was released. Oh no, I actually stand corrected. It was early in the 90s. It was from the 1990s. A film in which that sort of experience was coming out on clips, and the clips could be personalized. So it was somebody's personal experience or face situation that could be viewed by another person. And in the film, that was banned. It was seen as a new drug, and there were people who were smuggling these clips and making huge amount of money on them. But it was also giving us the perspective on all the dangers which would arise from such clips being created, because you're entering somebody's mind, you're entering somebody's personalized experience. Don't forget, you don't have to be, even today, making VR which is extracted from somebody's memory, although this would be highly exciting and excitable for some people, of course, because enter somebody's mind and see the reality as it was for that person. But you can create the same experience, which means you are basically building an activity that is very similar to what somebody would have gone through, and it's ultra realistic, and that is what Steam had objected to. They thought the particular program or experience that was offered through Holodecks was going to be bordering that threshold, and I think that is exactly as to why they declined it. So if you're interested, you can go to my Twitter. There's a lengthy article on this, and certainly you'll have a lot of food for thought once you read it. I think we need to have some sort of boundaries. We need to be sure that what people are engaged with is not having a seriously damaging effect on them psychologically, and we've seen that in cinema. 3D had taken off in 2010, and the vast majority of AAA blockbusters and sci-fi flicks were all released in 3D. By 2016-2017, the interest for 3D completely receded, and the Hollywood studios decided no longer to invest in it. So you wonder really, what's the reason for that? Well, the reason for that is people didn't find it to be significantly different to what they watched on 2D. And don't forget, film as medium is defined by that square or by that rectangular screen, right? So you will know that once the lights come on, this was just all a fantasy. Came from Dream Factory. That's about it. And it's that distinction between the experience in the cinema whilst you're in a darkened room watching the film, that is somebody's personalized transformation of reality, to what you experience once you go out after the lights come on. And that clearly defines the medium. It clearly defines the medium. It's a fantasy. It doesn't matter how ultra realistic it appears to be. Entering virtual reality, once you put a headset on your head and once you're doing the game, I think we'll have a different type of experience. I'm not the person to say much about it. I've not tried it. I've not gone through it. But certainly having, and I think maybe the virtual reality of today with Oculus is still not as advanced in order to make a distinction. Well, put it this way, when you're looking at it, you can see immediately the distinction between that reality within VR and the way things are around you. But as we are moving towards the games which are hyper-realistic, in other words, identical to real life, there's a danger that once you get to that level of tech, once you're in it, you are going to be having that ultra-realistic, vivid, life-like experience, and that will be affecting your activities and your mental mode of functioning. So, something we really need to keep in mind and indeed pay a bit more attention to further analysis. I really want to tell you more about Mass Effect, because Mass Effect Legendary Edition will run at 60 FPS on PS5 and miraculously on 120 FPS on Xbox Series X. They really are beefing up the 120 FPS on Series X because they believe that hardcore gamers will be drawn to the console because of this. And I've got to tell you, running those games on 120 FPS is very, very beneficial because the movements are very smooth, and you just absolutely fully enjoy it. It does have less of an effect on your optics. That's the main thing. I played the Outer Worlds on Xbox One and on my setup, and don't forget my 60-inch Bravia doesn't have the massive refresh rate, so it does appear to be, this is a new game and also in 4K, it does appear to me that the characters is lagging somewhat, so you don't have the smooth frame rate, and I don't think that the movement is even on 60. It's probably 24, 26, within that range. And running the same game on 120 is a completely different experience. I mean, it's similar to what you have with Yakuza Trilogy Remastered. If you have it, have a look, and then go to PlayStation, have a look at the way the way the game works on the other console. You'll be able to see the remarkable difference. So we have a bit more information on Mass Effect Legendary Edition, console and PC performance. And we said that they are giving us 2 separate graphics mode, and they will be accessible on consoles, and they will be running, believe you me, at a maximum of 240 FPS on PCs. So really, if you're buying it for your PC, it'll be doubled up, 240 compared to 120 on Xbox Series X. Mass Effect Legendary Edition includes upgraded remasters of the first 3 Mass Effect games, as well as almost all of the DLC releases but one from Mass Effect 1 is going to be out in 5 days, so that is on Friday. Absolutely fantastic. I really pray to God that Phil Spencer will deliver some sort of announcement on Thursday night saying, my dear Xbox fans, we are releasing the Legendary on Xbox Game Pass. Fingers crossed. That's not been confirmed, so don't quote me on this, but I'm hoping, in view of the fact that Microsoft now have EA fully integrated, EA access that is, on the Game Pass, we'll get it, and then we can crack on with the gameplay on Friday. And that would be fantastic, because believe you me, if I get that Legendary Edition on a Game Pass, I will be streaming it back to back, playing it every single day, up to the point where we've gone to the end of the trilogy and completed everything. Because I can't wait. I was considering whether to run the entire trilogy from November onwards, knowing that the Legendary was going to come out in May, but decided against it, because I think the overall experience would become a bit more repetitive, and it also would be confined to a very, very kind of short period of time. And it's better to be replaying the game on the Legendary, and I'm curious to see whether they will have the same option like the one we have on the Master Chief Collection. You click the options button and you can switch it from the old to the new. You know, I'm quite curious to see whether that's going to be available, because if it is, the old will be also massively enhanced with the FPS rate, and the graphics will look superior to the old, but the vision will be exactly the same, like what we've had in the original editions. But to be honest with you, I played the Master Chief Collection. I've gone down the route of Combative Vault. Still need to do 2 and 3, but not. I mean, I've looked at it. I've not played it through the old graphics, because you know they're basically old gen. I do understand that some people who have been doing the game initially on Xbox Original will be very keen on doing it, and I did have a look at it, and the frame rate and the quality movement and everything else is identical on both options. So it doesn't matter whether you're switching from the old to the new, it is going to be exactly the same frame rate and the quality graphics, etc. But obviously for the new, the environment looks very much like the one from Destiny. It's just, you know, fully blown, very bright and colorful, whilst the old is very, very simple. So anyway, if you are on Xbox Game Pass, do not hesitate, download the Master Chief Collection, have a look at it, and then send us some views of your experiences, you know, whatever you've gone through. Ping us a message here on Twitch, or send it to us by email. I'll be very, very glad to be discussing it here. So as we've heard, Mass Effect Legendary is coming out on May the 14th, that is on Friday, and they reveal some additional information about what you can expect from this game's performance across consoles and PC. So we have the remasters will be able to reach really high performance on PC. So they'll be looking at supporting 240 frames per second and 240 Hz refresh rates. That's fantastic. You need to have a good monitor for that, don't forget. On the other hand, all console versions will have the option to prioritize graphical fidelity or to prioritize frame rate. So also share the breakdown of the maximum resolution and frame rate across the various consoles. Not surprisingly, PS5 and Xbox Series X will enable the highest resolution on the consoles. So on the Series X, we can have output of 120, and if you have a compatible TV, PS5 will be supporting only 60 FPS. So you have a full breakdown in there. So if you want to know, I'll actually read it out, but if you want to really take a note of this, you need to go to the article. The article is on my Twitter, and just click on the link, you'll get all the information. So if we look at PS4, so that's for me, I don't have PS5, up to 60 FPS and 1080p. Quality will be up to 30 FPS and 1080p. Right? So that's like Ultra HD. But it is going to be significantly different compared to that of 120 that I mentioned. PS4 Pro will be up to 60 FPS and 1440p. And they said also for the quality will be on PlayStation 4 Pro of 4K up to 30 FPS. But you can see they're not really going above and beyond of 30 FPS there with the older consoles. PS5 will be up to 60 FPS and 1440p, and then up to 60 FPS and 4K in quality. So that's really cool. 4K quality from the beginning. Xbox One, as you could see, similar to the old, well, slightly superior to PlayStation 4 to be honest, up to 60 FPS and 1080, and then up to 60 FPS and 1080 quality. So it's Ultra HD, it's not 4K. Well, Xbox One Series X and S, it doesn't matter if you have X or S, it just needs to be stressed, but they are really flogging the X because of the price ranges. You know, the X model, Series X, is priced about £450 compared to our Series S, which is £250, and obviously all the functions that we have on Series X, the vast majority will be present on the other module, the other model. But don't forget, the only biggest problem there for anyone who wants to using just one console, let's say you don't want to have your Xbox One and the other also attached to it, you are going to be having some issues in there, and therefore you want to be getting Series X as it has the physical drive, and the S model does not have it, which is obviously of concern. And then we'll be getting on Series X and S up to 60 FPS and 1440, up to 30 FPS and 4K in quality. Xbox Series X, the top model will have up to 120 FPS and then 4K, and the quality will be also 60 FPS and 4K, so that's really incredible. Performance of Xbox Series X is going to be 120 FPS and 4K, so that will be more than satisfying for everyone. Alright my friends, I think that's all I have for you today. So we talked a bit about our gaming experiences, our communities, our Warzone marathon streams, our community participation. We talked about the news, and we told you all about Resident Evil Village, the new mods which have been introduced. If you're interested to learn more about Mass Effect and Resident Evil Village, please do stroll to my Twitter and have a look at all the postings. I have about half dozen dedicated to each one of the games, and I've not had enough time today to go through all the ideas and all the novelties, but all is there. As we've seen, Resident Evil Village released on Friday, very popular. Everyone's playing it at the moment, and the overall experience has been very positive. The community of Resident Evil fans have embraced it and provided it with huge amount of positive feedback, and I think we are also looking at the release of the biggie Mass Effect Trilogy Legendary Edition coming out next Friday. So it's interesting that we have two major releases, one this Friday, Resident Evil Village, and then in a week we'll be embracing that wonderful BioWare masterpiece yet again. Very excited about it. So like I said, just stroll to some of my online entities, go to Twitter, have a look at all the postings. Lots of novelties and news attached to both games, and they'll provide you with a lot of food for thought. Alright, so thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here with us today. We'll have a short break now for about 5 minutes, and then we'll crack on with Warzone streams. We'll have another lengthy session today, hoping to have our community fully on board. And as I said, next week we are going back to Destiny, to Apex, and indeed we'll be looking at Outriders, the game that is slightly overdue here. We want to carry on with more missions on Enoch. Until then, I wish you all a very happy gaming afternoon.